All right. I'm trying to decide whether to go glasses or no glasses for this show because
Do you have anything to read?
no,
Then why would you need glasses?
it has nothing to do with reading. Do I look better with my glasses or better without?
Oh.
Because I don't have a lot of good eye makeup on today.
Oh.
So I feel like the glasses help with that. So I think I'll keep them on.
I'm looking at the feed. It looks great. Are those new glasses?
Nope, they are not new.
Okay.
And they're just readers.
Yeah.
I can tell that I get a little bit older because I have to go up in my reading
So
level.
you don't have prescription glasses. You just have ones you buy at Walgreens and those
Right.
glasses.
Right.
Okay.
Different, like little packs. They come in different colors and brands. And
Well, Maggie's very passionate about what glasses she wears. She broke a pair over the break and she had to wear old pink ones and she had new blue and black ones. And she's like, we've got to get new glasses. I will not wear pink. And it's like, okay, well, we'll work on it. And fortunately, they came in before.
can only do what we can do.
Before school, like that was the concern. She was like, I'm not wearing these pink ones to school.
I won't be going back to school.
Pink is dead to her. I don't know what happened.
That's so weird because pink's having its biggest year ever.
She is not into it. She's not a pink person. But anyway, so yeah, I think your glasses look great.
Well, we're going to go with the glasses because I'm not really thrilled about my eye makeup. And now this has made it into the intro of the show.
Yeah. Well, you've got a big plan for us today.
I've got a lot for us to talk about today. I can't do it with the glasses. I'm starting to feel seasick.
Okay. Well, we're going without the glasses.
We're going without the glasses, everyone.
Do you want to get started?
This lets you know that the show is going to be wild and crazy.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast from the City Rise Network. Hosted by Jennifer Dennis and produced by me, Justin Kellough. We're a podcast that was supposed to be focused on parenting, but we've kind of lost the plot along the way. Honestly, we don't know what this podcast is about, but we talk to incredible people who love Jesus, and our hope is to provide encouragement and fun whenever possible. If our lack of clear direction bothers you, we apologize, but no one is making you listen to this podcast, unless you're married to Jennifer. Andy, thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast. We're excited to be with you in 2024. Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to you, Justin.
It is actually the new year. We're not recording this before the break. Like, this is legitimately our first moment back in this room.
When we first started the podcast, Justin would say, okay, in this episode, Christmas has already happened or Thanksgiving's already happened. So make sure you're pretending it's already happened. And I would go into great detail about things that had not happened.
Elaborate ruses.
We had a great time at Thanksgiving. The food was delicious. He's like, no, you don't have to do that either. Just like this will air later. But we are in the new year.
Yes.
So I thought instead of starting off the new year with a guest, which, who's available.
I'm sure you planned it this way. You're like, no. I've got 10 people I could talk to.
I have 10 people on hold.
Yeah, but I said, no, I want to do an episode without a guest.
We're going to start and just talk about the breaks, talk about what we're looking forward to this year, some goals for the show. And then I do want to talk about a little bit about GREAT, which is the next, this is our next study that Pastor Roger's leading that I think is really exciting.
Sure.
So we've got a lot to discuss today.
Great.
So let's get started.
Yeah, we've already started.
Hey, everybody.
Did you already do that part?
It did feel familiar. Hey, everybody, and welcome again.
Welcome again. Here we go.
So, did you guys travel? You guys went to somewhere. I saw you floating on a tube.
We went to
on a video.
Yeah. We went to Kalahari in Round Rock. It's an indoor water park. We did it. Okay, so in our community group last year, we had a mentor family who was talking about how for many years, they didn't really do gifts at all for Christmas. And we thought last year, like, well, we can't go cold turkey, no gifts. Like, our kids will revolt. And so we decided to do a trip as our gift to them. And then we had, obviously, grandparents and aunts and uncles still bought them presents. And they did that this year too. But we decided we're not going to buy a bunch of stuff. And so we did that last year. We were going to go to Florida. And then Southwest just imploded. I don't know if you recall that.
I remember that.
And so we did a last minute redirect. So, okay, we're going to Kalahari. We're going somewhere. And so into Kalahari, they loved it. And so we thought this year we'd do it again as their gift. After doing Christmas morning at home with grandparent presents and stuff like that, we went to Austin and saw Kristen's family, and then we did Kalahari. And it was good. I think we'll do one night less next year. We got to the point.
You don't need the whole several day experience.
We had 3 nights. We had 3 nights. We'll do 2 next year. We got to the point where you're literally having to beg children to go to a water park. Like, you're in your hotel and they want to play on their iPad, and you're like having to beg them to go to a giant water park. And I was like, this isn't I don't like the way this feels. Like, we don't need to overstay our welcome at this place where they're bored with the water park.
Right.
So next year we'll do a shorter stay. It'll be less money and less time together in one hotel room. So we're pretty excited about that. But it is great. But it is becoming popular. Like, it's becoming like the Christmas thing to do. I was at gymnastics the other day with my kids, and I heard somebody in the lobby talking about how, yeah, they were at Kalahari over Christmas break. I was like, oh, this is like a thing now. I hope it doesn't get
cool thing to do.
I hope it doesn't get so packed that it's like not fun at all.
It will absolutely get so packed it's not fun at all.
It was still good. I saw the Bowmans there. The Bowmans were there, and so we ran into them, which is fun. Once again, soaking wet and shirtless.
Jeez, you cannot meet one person with your shirt on. Like, you cannot come in contact with anybody
it's
clothed.
Fine. It's fine. It was fun. It was really fun, and so it's a great trip. I would encourage anybody if you're looking for something fun, and it scales well. It's like tiny little baby section up to grown-up teenagers, big fun slides. Like, it really is for the whole family.
For the whole family.
So if you're ever thinking about it, I can't recommend it enough. You ask me questions, I'll tell you about it.
All right. So we went up, we did our regular triangle of up to Nashville, down to Florida, and back to Texas.
Why do you do that all on one holiday? What is the motivation?
Well, it comes down to us having 2 Sundays of no community groups and no kid rally. Mm-hmm. So it's really easy to see both families around the holidays.
Cool.
Then
College
we have
kids
several.
Are at home, so Andy has nothing going on.
Andy's ministry stopped. We have several holidays in there that help out. So it really works.
Okay.
So we had a good time in Nashville. It was cold. It was so cold. And when I'm telling you this, I'm serious. I had to go get a puffer jacket from Old Navy to survive.
Oh, you didn't prepare.
I didn't prepare. It's not like I didn't prepare. I didn't have anything.
You know what's wild? We took heavy coats to the water park. We were inside and we planned that much for cold weather.
Well, I love that. I was in Nashville in 30-degree weather, full freezing. So I got a big gold puffy coat, which I was really excited about until someone said I look like the guy from Back to the Future. They called me that character. And I was like, that's it. I'm never wearing this again.
Which guy's wearing gold in Back to the Future?
Michael W. Smith. No, Michael J. Fox. He's wearing that orange puffer vest.
Okay,
that's what I had on.
I see people wearing just the puffer vest a lot in our community.
Yes.
I don't understand the purpose of it.
I was wearing the puffer vest. I wasn't doing the whole arm Michelin Man thing.
Does it actually do its job?
Absolutely. It keeps your core warm.
So your arms don't feel cold?
No, my arms don't feel that cold. It keeps my core warm.
Wow.
My hands are going to be cold either way, and I put them in my pockets, and it's good. Okay. It allows you to move better. It's easier.
Great.
It's probably a little bit more in style now. So, but the thing is, we went down to the South, and there's this video trend right now going on that says, we live in the South. So, of course, like,
yes, for every single niche.
Prompt, it would be, we live in Texas, so of course we get our groceries from HEB.
Yeah.
We live in Texas, so of course everything's bigger here.
Yes.
And I was starting to put that together in my head while I was in the South visiting my family. Mm-hmm. And it was like, we're in the Southeast, so of course we're going to burn our trash and everything we own in the backyard.
Yeah.
Literally, for my entire break, there were things on fire in the backyard.
You do talk about fire every time you go home. That's like...
I'm obsessed.
Always happening when you go
I'm
home.
obsessed with someone starting a fire. Hey, who's starting the fire? Are we doing marshmallows? Are we sitting by the fire? Coffee by the fire? My dad has even started painting with Papa Jim by the fire.
But it's not a cozy fire pit. It's just a pile of brush and sticks, right? It's not like Adirondack chairs with like bricks and contained. It's just a pile of debris. Okay.
There's one fire pit. It's like a big nice pit. Okay. Chairs around.
Then that's not really just South, but yeah.
But there's a second burn pile out in the yard that's straight up like the trash.
Debris.
Another thing is we're from the South. So of course we're going to drive to Alabama to the largest firework get up in the South load up on hundreds of dollars of firework to blow up in the backyard.
Yeah.
So my sister's boyfriend and my other sister and me, we all got in the car and we head to this place. It's called Shelby, I think, Fireworks.
It's like buy one, get 5 free situation.
It is a huge, like just metal building. I mean, packed boxes up to the ceiling with fireworks. Mm-hmm. And it's like military discounts, if you can imagine. Yeah. And we just get this huge baskets of fire. We're going to blow. We even had a little talk, like if someone lights a cigarette in here, how are we getting out?
Yeah.
Where do we get out the fastest?
You have a lot of smokers in your family?
No, but I was afraid to be in this fireworks store. So we get back home And apparently not all of these grandchildren have gone through Papa Jim's fireworks safety. And I'm sitting by the fire trying to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
But my little nephew and nieces are like lighting their fireworks with the fire in the fire pit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, don't do that. Use the fuse.
Not great.
Don't do that. It would start making that sound like, psh, like where you have like 4 seconds and something's going to blow up.
Yes.
I'm like making the rules. Hey, kind of blow up things on the grass. Hey, don't use the fire pit to light your.
Yeah.
Hey, don't.
I'm glad you were there because I'm sure the actual parents of these kids are not irresponsible. But what happens is when you go to family and you have young kids, you genuinely are just like, surely they're fine. And you kind of like,
yes, it becomes like this herd.
It's
a herd.
Surely there's enough adults around here to make sure these kids don't die. And you proved that it was right.
It's true. There. So there's this thing called a black cat. It's a firework.
Most boring of all, right?
It's the most boring. It delivers one quick pow. Yeah. You know, it's boring until your father gets one that has 500 of them on there, and he ties it to a stick and runs around in the yard. So that's one thing going on. Wow. Meanwhile, my sister's boyfriend is just like lighting up bottle rockets and throwing them. I don't know.
Back in the day, this was before my time, but like Gen X and older, y'all used to shoot people with bottle rockets.
Yeah, we would have bottle rocket wars. That is true. I did not do that. I respect them. And it was like there were 4, I'm not kidding you, Justin. At some point, there were 4 stations of people blowing up things in the backyard. And I'm just like, this is so hard.
That's not my thing.
And then the next day, I did attend one of our paint by the fire classes.
Sounds like a totally different vibe.
And someone started shooting.
Oh, no.
Someone started shooting off fireworks in the middle of paint time.
Yeah,
and I'm like, hey, this is the paint class. We're not doing fireworks right now.
I saw a video on TikTok of San Diego, and it was just so they said there was a computer glitch that made the entire 20-minute show go off at one time.
Did you see that?
It was just so bright, and it was just this giant field of just explosions. I was like, I'm sure certain people are like, oh my, this is like, you know, it's like at first you think it's part of the show, and then you start like really thinking like, oh, surely this isn't right. And like they're like grabbing kids and like, oh, we got to get away from.
We got some of the big ones, you know, and they didn't put them far enough away from us. So they're like popping and then just like falling right down on our faces as we're looking up at them. It was fun. We were one of the loudest. I will say this. We weren't even in the top.
Yeah. You're not in city limits though, right?
We're not in city limits. We're out in the country, but everyone has this big firework hall. It is every street. It is down every road.
I do not miss that. We lived in a city previously where they did not have rules about that. Or if they had rules, the locals did not care about them. And so there'd be fireworks just all night long. But in Houston, the cops are like, especially in West U, the cops are like, no. Like, so like we didn't have to deal with like, you know,
in West U, I would guess that they would really tamp it down. Where I live, they're still shooting stuff up.
We didn't hear one firework, so it was great.
That's great.
I love it. And I did see another video of you know how dogs have to take medicine on like firework nights? And
yes.
Like, and this dog is just like so high on this drug or whatever it is that they gave it to like, and he's just like so happy that they can survive. But we had fireworks in my hometown one night, and then they forgot to put our dog inside. And our dog clawed his way through the door.
Oh, no.
Literally destroyed the door getting inside. Like, that's how traumatic this is for these dogs. It's so traumatic.
So our dog was not excited.
Yeah.
He was not happy about this at all.
Oh, this is your dog from home you took?
Yeah, we took. Another note. We cannot be taking our dog on these and Andy's listening. And Andy, the love of my life, he said, when I was like, do we have to bring Flynn? And this is Andy's response. Jenny doesn't get that many Christmases.
That's true. That's true.
I'm like, he is a dog.
Yeah. He'd probably love being boarded though. Like he'd probably enjoy it.
Or I don't know.
Having a house sitter come by.
Andy loves having the dog with him at Christmas. Andy just loves having the dog with him.
Wow.
So he came with us and he was not into this whole firework thing. But anyway, I have some things I want us to talk about today.
Great.
And this is normally when we would introduce you to our guest who's not here. But I wanted to talk about how we're reframing or framing ourselves for 2024. So the first thing I want to talk about is your word for the year.
Listen, when you sent me this text message, you said, yeah, we'll talk about our words for the year. You said it as if this was an accepted thing that everybody does.
Okay, I think a lot of people do this.
Okay, well, this may be surprising to you, but I did not plan to do that. That was not something on my radar of like, here's a word.
You've never had a word of the year?
No. But I'm not saying I won't talk about it today. I can share what I think, but it was just funny. The way you framed it was like, yeah, we'll just talk about our word for the year. Like, it was like, everybody does this. Like, surely you have one of these. And I was like, oh,
we can look it up. We can look up how many people kind of have a word
I want to know how your word for last year reframed your year, though. Did you actually make decisions and changes in your life based on that word?
So last year,
do you remember the word?
Okay. So last year, I think because I had COVID, I didn't get a word of the year.
Okay.
I think it was
survive,
and which I did. It was a whole thing. The years where my word's been like gratitude. I had 1 year where my word was trust.
Okay.
And I really did think it if you use it regularly, maybe you're journaling with it. Maybe if you spend the time to look through the word and think about, why is this going to be meaningful for me? How am I wanting this word to impact my year? What do I want to see change? Because I'm kind of focused on this word. Sure. I think people do have results. Mm-hmm. But I think other years, if you just pick a word you like, mm-hmm. and you don't think back against it, I think it has as much power and influence in your life as you want it to.
Okay, great.
So I am picking so have you already picked your word?
Sure.
Oh my goodness. I can tell you're only partially engaged in this. My sister's picked, I think her word that she wants to use is engaged. She wants to be very like present mm-hmm. in all of her. And I think maybe the word was present now that I think about it. I wasn't really listening. Obviously, that's not my word.
You weren't present.
So I think hers is present so that she can be in the moment with people and not waste it, which she's one of the most present people I know. So I was like, I think that's a terrible word for you.
Be better at it again.
I like to tell people my opinion about their word, about how I think it's a bad idea. People are really receptive to that.
Okay.
So I was listening to this video about how there's a part of our brain. I don't remember now. I left the notes downstairs. There's a part of our brain that expands when we do hard things.
Okay.
When we do things that like climb mountains or disciplined or like that are hard physically for us, there's a part of our brain that it kind of exercises and it rewards us for doing something hard, mm-hmm. not for accomplishing something hard, like not getting to the top of the mountain. The fact that we worked and put effort into the mountain mm-hmm. is where we get a part of the reward. And
my rewards are usually a food treat. If I've done something hard, I treat myself. But you're talking about like a mental change.
Like a really hard thing, whether it's something that's mentally that takes a lot of strenuous thought. Mm-hmm. They say that animals and humans usually take the path of least resistance. They usually do the easier thing. They will even endure a little bit of pain to not do a harder thing.
Okay.
Because people see or view effort as painful. Sure. A little bit of pain. But they're finding that the part of that brain that increases in size when you do hard things, it helps you want to desire to do more hard things. That part grows and becomes more powerful. And they found that longevity, people who have lived a really long time, that part of their brain stays strong and bigger. So they're thinking that it's actually connected to your will to live.
Wow.
Your will to live.
Wow. Is doing hard things?
Doing hard things.
Okay.
So I think my word this year is going to be effort. I'm not going to be as focused on the outcome, the reward. I want to look at effort this year.
So you don't think you're working hard enough, or you don't think you're doing enough hard things?
I don't think I'm challenging myself to do hard things. Okay. I think too much of my life is not hard. And I want to like make that part of my brain stretch a little bit.
Yeah.
So what I find I'll do is I'll skip over the arduous things and kind of get to the easy things and hope that I can work my way up to it. But I don't prefer it.
Yeah.
You know, if I come home and Andy's like, let's go for a walk after dinner, which many of our listeners will be like, that's not very hard. That's not hard at all. For me, that I'm just like, I've worked today. I don't feel like doing that. Yeah. I'm just going to put a load of clothes on. Doesn't that sound like a good thing? Mm-hmm. I don't do the hard thing.
Yeah. I mean, I could see how that'd be a great goal to have. And so these are not so much resolutions, right? It's just kind of like a way to frame.
Right. Frame my work. And I don't think I'm doing hard things in several areas of my life.
Okay.
I want to do more hard things. Have you ever just like worked in the yard all day or done something really hard all day and you get to bed at night and you just sleep so easy? Like rest comes.
Yeah, I've been on some mission trips.
Been on some mission trips.
I've been on some mission trips that were very physically demanding that like, yes, it's tough, but you sleep and you feel like, okay, I actually did something today. Like that's not something, but I couldn't do it every day because like by the end of the week, I'm just
shredded,
angry in the morning.
Mad.
Like the work trips you go on where you're like repairing somebody's house or whatever to share the gospel with them. And like the first day, you're like, this is great. By the third day, you're like, I'm never doing this.
This is the last time
body
I'm doing
was not
this.
made for this, So
right.
Of course, there's limit to everything, but you're just saying, just kind of sprinkling it into your life.
Right. In some ways, it'll probably look like discipline to most people, but to me, it's like choose the hard thing. Wow. Do the hard thing.
Wow.
So
what's the word again?
Effort.
It
may be hard.
Is your word?
Maybe I should make it hard.
Putting in effort.
Maybe I should make the word decisive.
Decisive?
But I really do. I want to grow in some areas this year. And I think I fall into the trap of going the easy route. Mm-hmm. And spiritually, I feel like sometimes, this is what I want to be honest about. And it's sometimes it's very hard for me to listen to God, to slow down and listen, or sometimes I'd rather stay busy. Mm-hmm. And tell God, look, I'm busy for you. Look at all I'm doing for you.
Yeah.
Look at this. That is sometimes easier for me than to quiet myself down and listen for God.
Sure.
And to spend time in God's word, to reflect on what he said and to be obedient to him. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes I'd be rather doing the dance like, we're so busy. I don't want you to, no, let's don't worry about this part of my life. Let's don't get that cleaned up. I kind of want to keep that going, Lord. And so a lot of times I don't think I'm living a life of obedience as much as I am like a little busy distraction. Mm-hmm. And the harder thing, the effort thing would be to sit down with God's word and walk in it with him, listen for him, take the time to hear him and step into obedience. Mm-hmm. But that's the harder thing. I think I'm never choosing the harder thing.
I don't think you're alone in that though. Like when I talk to somebody that's just like, I do hard things. I'm like, okay.
I do hard things.
It's like, geez, okay, calm down. Like, why? I don't think you're the only one that finds themselves like defaulting to ease. But to recognize that in yourself and be like, well, I'm going to try and do that less. I think it is kind of, it's kind of hard. It's not tangible. You know what I'm saying? So like you do have to daily evaluate what the hard thing is. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm going to walk every day after dinner. Like, no, you're saying in every area of your life, you need to do more difficult things. And so you really have to be conscious of that word this year if you're going to do that, because you'll default to not doing the hard things.
Exactly.
So do you like write it up somewhere or do you like get it tattooed on you?
That's such a good question. Yes. The first thing I want to start with is a tattoo. A tattoo effort. Right here on my cheek.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know. That's such a great question. I think there are areas where I would like to show more effort. That's physical endurance. Mm-hmm. I'm really low on that. That little test where you see if you can get up off the floor without holding on to anything.
Well, listen, that's everybody.
Should we do that now?
Yeah, let's do it. But
let's do it now.
I will say,
do we need to move are we not going to do it now?
No, I'm not doing it. I saw a TikTok that talked about how like the floor becomes your enemy as you get older. And so just getting on the floor, doing some exercises on the floor, getting up and getting it down.
Right.
Just doing that level is like going to protect you down the road.
They say that just getting off the floor without holding on to anything lets you know how long you're going to live. Yeah. If you have to hold on to certain things, if you have to have help to get up, that's an indicator that you won't live that long.
Let me tell you, the most ungraceful I feel is getting out of the pool when I've been working out and trying to stand up because you're like just wiped out. You're like,
I think everybody would like to see that. I think most of us have seen that, Justin,
at the pool or the water park. But like, you have to climb out and like it is pushing yourself off the ground. So I could see that. Like,
I think when I have conversations with Roger Patterson, he likes to choose hard. I feel like he's naturally built to choose hard.
I think there's some people geared that way.
And I do. I think when I think about the people in my life that are, especially with physical challenges, like they're liking that next physical challenge, they choose that hard. And I think it develops them more. And then they like to choose hard in other areas too, which I would like to get around to doing.
Sure. I mean, I think there's something to say about innovation too, doing something easier than it needs, than it has been before. There's both sides that can go the wrong way. That's great. But I think that, like I said, it's this one word thing is so nebulous. You do have to like intentionally make it part of your life. Otherwise, it's
right.
Whereas a resolution is, I'm going to read the Bible 3 times a week or 5 times a week. Like that's a very clear goal. This
Maybe
is more of a
like
framing, and you do have to like be more intentional with this, I think.
So when I was home, and then we're going to talk about your possible words. When I was home, my parents handed me 2 boxes of letters, 2 shoe boxes, Keds specifically. If you're my generation, you'll know, filled with letters, written on paper letters. And I had this friend who I moved away from 8th grade. She's been my best friend for years. She would write me letters, 8-page letters about everything going on in her life, what was going on back in Mississippi. And she wrote me all the way till finishing high school.
Wow.
That was incredible to me. I reached and I'm just like reading these letters and I'm like, she was such a great friend. She was such a good friend. So I reached out to her, Justin, and I was like,
she's here right now. Bring her in.
And we do have a guest all the way from Memphis, Tennessee. So her name is Jennifer.
Wow.
And she was very sarcastic and caustic. And I think that's why I like her sense of humor was so dry. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm drawn to dry humor is because she's very intelligent, very dry, very funny. And that's, me as a young elementary school kid seeing this in this friend. So we wrote each other letters, we'd keep each other, involved. So I started reading these letters and it made me miss her. We haven't been in touch in literally 30 years.
Yeah, just like Facebook.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, how did I let this great friend go? So I reach out to her on Messenger and I'm like, hey, I found all these letters that you wrote and it has so many details about your life. Would you like for me to send them to you?
She said, new phone, who dis?
I get who dis? I write back and I said, send me your address and I'll send you the letters. And so she sends me the address promptly. And she goes, that's so crazy. When did I send them? And I let her know. And so we drove off from Florida and I totally forgot the letters.
Oh, no.
I forgot the letters.
Well, your mom's there. Sure, she can do it for you.
I don't know. My mom's, she's like, I don't want to go through all of that. Mom, can you just put them in a big bag and send them to me? So now I'm wondering if I should reach back out to her and say, hey, I forgot the letters, to which she would say, yeah, that's so surprised you never wrote me. This is just more.
So let's see. So the hard thing, the effort here would be to drive back to Florida. Are you gonna put in the effort? Are you gonna?
So I'm reading through Justin. When we were in school, I may be a little bit. I'm older than you. We would write our friends letters during classes and exchange them between classes. And we'd tell them,
yeah, note passing is like. Yeah.
I know, but our kids are not doing that now. They're not writing letters to their buddies.
I mean, a letter and a note are 2 different things. I would assume kids are still writing notes, maybe.
Do you think?
I mean, before they have phones. My kid didn't have a phone.
Well, everything my kid's doing is on their phone.
Well, yeah, she's like almost a grown person. Like,
let me say this too, and this is the last thing I want to talk about before we get your thing. Olivia, so Snapchat is huge with youth today. With the youths. Yep. And we already don't like Snapchat because it disappears. So you really have no record and they can have all this drama and you never know about it as a parent because it just disappears.
Right.
So Olivia decided to uninstall Snapchat for the 10 days that we were gone.
Wow.
And we're headed out. She goes, I'm going to uninstall this program. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Okay, cool. That's great, Olivia. I think that's really great. Then as we're traveling through the week, she starts to let me know what this means. And I had no idea the level that Snapchat has on these kids' lives. So the first thing is when you've been snapping back and forth with somebody every day, it creates a streak. So Olivia had to break every one of her streaks with people. And some of her streaks were 700 days.
Right.
So they keep you engaged every day with all your friends because you can't break these streaks. The second thing it does is it ranks your friends based on how often you interact with each other.
Wow.
So if someone else becomes your best friend, that means that you're spending more time with that friend. So if you have a list of friends and someone else moves ahead in the list of you, it's a real like, what? No. And so then you have to snap more to get you back up to your list on the friends list.
Wow.
Then it gives you like scores of how many snaps you're sending in a day, how many snaps you sent your friends. Then it allows you to video snap each other, send messages in Snap. And some kids won't even tell you what's really going on in their lives unless it's on Snap because they want it to go away.
Sure.
So I'm just sitting there and she's talking about this and I'm like, oh my goodness, they've totally gamified communication with kids. They've gamified it to where now it's like Candy Crush, but with people that you're having to stay in touch with all these people in order to keep your scores high, your snap, like keep your snap score high, to keep your streaks going, to keep your friends in pace on their like leaderboards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a guy talking about on TikTok. He was saying that like there are entire industries in the digital space over in California, places where everyone's full-time job is what do children want and how do we get it to them without their parents being in the loop. Like there are grown adults whose entire job and career, and when they're having marketing meetings and planning meetings and 2024 growth goals, it's all about how do we get kids what they want, not what they need, and make sure the parents don't know what we're doing. That's the entire industry.
So broken. And
that's not just Snapchat. Snapchat's probably the worst offender, but all these people are that's their goal, is like, how do we give kids the digital, quote unquote drug they want without the parents being aware of it?
Well, I didn't know that Snapchat had become like a part-time job for her. I didn't know that she was having to send hundreds of snaps every day to stay in it. And what's so crazy is once she went off, she was still allowed on every other platform. I mean, she could still do TikTok, Instagram, and she chose to take the break. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy because she had more time to visit with us. And usually when she's on her phone, she's intense, like, Mom, just a minute. Hold up. And what I didn't realize was she's having to check all of these features to keep her where she needs to be on Snapchat. Mm-hmm. So we would get a very disengaged, I can't do this right now. I literally don't have time to be with you.
Yeah.
And once she broke free, it was like.
Is she back on it now?
Yeah, she's definitely back on it. But you know what she said? She said, I can leave this now. I could leave this now.
Well, that's good.
I thought that was really cool. But for all you Snapchat parents out there trying to figure out what you should do with Snapchat, whew, that's a look. Well, okay, Justin, I've given you a lot of time. Mm-hmm. What is your word for 2024?
When I think of words to define your life by, I always go to the fruits of the Spirit. So each night when I pray with my kids, I'm praying that they're loving, peaceful, patient, kind, gentle, self-controlled, faithful, joyful, and good. Like that's what I'm praying. And they're not even technically Christ followers yet. I don't know how theologically how that all works, but like I'm praying.
Justin, you literally will not let them come to know the Lord.
I won't let them get baptized, but they can. They know Jesus. They haven't rejected him yet. That's the bottom line. They haven't rejected him. So that leads me to believe that they have the capacity to have these traits prayed over them and to develop in their lives. So like with my son, like I find myself like really lingering on the self-control one. Like, dear God, help this child have self-control because he cannot control his words. He cannot control his hands. We're seeing that even more now that we've been on break. It's like, I'll get in his, we'll tell him a million times not to do something. And I'll say, listen, we've given you lots of warnings. One more time, you lose this. So what happens if he does one more time? I lose that. Great. Then he does it again. And it's like, okay, I'm taking this away. And it's like, what? It's like,
I did not see that coming.
It's like, picking on a sister where we say, okay, if you continue to pick on her one more time, we've whatever. So he needs self-control. My daughter might need some peace and some patience because she's got someone who doesn't have self-control picking on her. So when I think of those lists, it's like, okay, there's a few that always are tough for me. Patience, gentleness, and kindness. Those are like the three big ones that are like tough, for me. And so between patience, gentleness, and kindness, which I would love to just dissect what the difference between kindness and gentleness is. But like for me, kindness is more about words and gentleness is more about like the whole who you are, I guess. So I think gentleness is probably where I would land of like, hey, how can I be a more gentle, presence in everyone's life, which is not what I'm known for. And I think there are times where you need somebody to rock the boat. And I don't think it's wrong to speak up and say, hey, this isn't right, or we need to fix this, or this is great. Like someone has to be blunt sometimes. I do fully believe that.
That is literally the explanation of an 8 on the Enneagram.
And I think they need to be. I think it helps people move forward. But as far as like making it your whole personality, it shouldn't be your whole personality. And so I think my personality could use a little more gentleness. I don't know actively how you do that. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you can set goals. It's not like you
could like make a goal for how many people you don't want to
but
make cry in a week.
I've never made anybody cry.
I'm going to go down to just 2 people crying a week.
But it's the fruits of the Spirit. The only way you get it is by the Spirit. You know, like that's what I like about it.
I should have chosen one of those.
It's not something that you can earn. Like I can't earn kindness. I can't earn patience. I can't earn goodness.
Which is interesting because people are always speaking about it like it's something you have to get better at.
Right.
But it really is just an outpouring of your out of your time with Jesus.
Right. So when I think of like resolutions or I think of this word thing, like I don't want things that I can or should get on my own power. Like to me, this feels better. It's like, okay, well, if this is what you want, God, like I need you to really show up this year and help me in this specific area and bring to mind the moments in the moment when I'm not being gentle. Like that's all on him. Like I can't make myself more aware. Like I have to have the Spirit saying, hey, you're not being gentle here, fix it.
Sure.
And so, I think that's probably a word that I
think our words are like opposite in that I'm needing to try with more effort and you're leaning on Jesus. Maybe I need to rethink I need to rethink my work a little bit. Starting to question.
Well, that's a great conversation then. But I think if you're listening to this and you're like, I think of like a word for the year, or I'd like a word for my family, or I'd like to pray a word over each of my kids.
Sure.
Like Julie Jenkins came in a few weeks ago talking about praying over their kids and praying over her children.
Right.
Like I think if you're like, hey man, here's a word, or what can I pray over my kids? To me, starting with the fruits of the Spirit and landing on the one for sure your kid struggles with can be the word that you have in your heart.
I think that's really smart. I think I'm going to be praying over the word tuition for my child this year.
Well, like my son needs self-control. My daughter needs patience. Like what would you say if you're looking at the fruits of the Spirit? Like what's one that you or your family might need this year?
I think, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one.
It's hard.
I think we're all getting into a place where having a kid off at college, it's going to be financially challenging. And it's also, finding some very good boundaries to prepare us for this 4-year journey. Please, Lord, 4 years.
Yeah.
So I think that would be one that would be really good for us.
Yeah.
And the self-control goes along with the doing hard things.
Sure.
So I think it pairs up pretty nicely.
Yeah.
But I just want to talk about our word of the year. I also want to talk a little bit about great. If you're a listener and you're still with us, thank you for hanging around.
Welcome.
Welcome. So this new venture that we're on is great. And it begins very soon.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think when people will be listening to this. So we for sure have, and I may cut this, or I may not. You may just get a peek of what we talk about. Roger talked about it. And so we do have an episode where Roger goes into great detail about the heart behind it and what his hopes are for it. And so we do have that episode that's coming out. And so I'm excited for our people to hear from Roger's heart. And then
the episode, it's a
podcast episode that he did with us.
Right.
Talking about it. And we did it pretty early on in the process. So that's why Jennifer's like, what are you talking about? And so we're finally able to release it because we're going into the series.
Yes.
And so I'm excited for you to hear that. If you haven't heard it already, I think it's probably going to come out before this. And so, following up on that, we heard from Roger talking about this idea of the Great Commission is about sharing, like, that's the whole point of being a Christian. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the heart. And he wants our church to understand, like, this is why we're here. It's the Great Commission. It's not just kind of like a side quest. Like this is the real goal. And so for us, and as we're looking at this, if you haven't checked it out, cityrise.org/great has all this content for you. And our hope is that, one, you're doing it in a community group here at our church. We'd love for that. But the bigger heart that Roger has is that you would pair up with somebody and go through this together with somebody who maybe doesn't go to our church or doesn't go to a small group or is new to the faith. You work with them, whatever. It's not just about pouring into ourselves. It's how do we take what great is and use it as a discipleship tool with other people. And so one of the big pushes is to pair up with somebody, is to find somebody to go through this curriculum with. We digitally provide you with the videos and the content to discuss. And so if you go to cityrise.org/great, you can be a part of pairing up. And there's even a place to register so we know that you're doing it and we can follow up with you and encourage you. Or if you want to pair up and partner and you don't have access to somebody, you're like, hey, this sounds great. I'd really love to go through this curriculum with somebody, but I don't have anybody. You can go to cityrise.org/great and register for one of those pair up opportunities. So that's a big push that wasn't yet fleshed out when Roger came and talked to us. I want to make sure to hit that today, but it is, the great curriculum is for all ages. We're doing it in our Sunday morning services, but we're also creating it so that you can do it outside, with somebody else is really the heart behind it. So with the student ministry curriculum, maybe you're you can't convince your kids to come to church. Maybe they don't want to be a part of a small group, but you can use this 6-week curriculum in the app at cityrise.org/app or go to /great. You can watch the student curriculum together. There's a discussion guide that you can walk through that with. It's made for small groups, but if you're just a parent doing it with your kids, you can do it. Same for children. Like we are creating a whole document where it's got activities and games and things like that. So if your kid for some reason either misses a Sunday or can't come, or maybe you want to do this with kids in your neighborhood or your Girl Scout troop or something. I don't know how much freedom you have in your circles, but we're giving you all the tools you need to not only be poured into, which is what we want to do, but to equip you to pour into other people. Because that's really the heart of the Great Commission.
I think it's so powerful that we sometimes, I'm so thankful to be at a church that is passionate about giving the gospel to everyone. I love that we're at a church that wants to see people come to know Christ, that wants to be redeemed, that wants to be forgiven, that wants a new life, and that we offer that, we value that, we provide that, we prioritize that. And this is a way that, that you can increase your knowledge, your everything, your knowledge, your passion for it, your readiness to have the conversations, asking for God for opportunities. It's crazy that every time I've asked God for an opportunity to share the gospel, He provides that. He and gives us the tools to walk in those conversations. And this is going to be one of those experiences. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's rolling. By the time you're listening to this, like it's happening. So cityrise.org/great has everything you need to be a part of this. And the sermon series, obviously there's going to be focus on that as well. So come on Sundays, each of our campuses will be preaching about it. So it really unifies our church, across all ages and campuses for this 6 weeks, where we're unified all the time, but kids will do their own curriculum, students do their own thing for a while, but this is like the one thing that we come together on a couple times a year.
We're all doing it. And so good to have those conversations with your family. Like, what's hard about sharing your faith? Or when do you feel comfortable like you can share your faith? Or, what keeps you from sharing your faith? I think that having these conversations within your family unit helps to, I think it will help empower your family to become, as a family, excited about sharing the gospel and having a group to come back to talk to about, hey, I struck up this conversation. I told this person I love Jesus. So I think that's great too, just like you said. Mm-hmm. Well, I think, Justin, that is about it. So I was going to ask you, should we drop the question this year? The get to know you question, or do you think it's still an important part of the show?
I think it's still an important part of the show. Or are you just tired of making them up?
No.
Listen, I will always bring up that book I gave you that you lost.
I found the book. It's in my office.
Oh, great.
It's just that we've used a lot of the questions and the things left are a little arbitrary. So I'll bring it back up again. It's in my backpack.
Yeah.
In my office.
I'll try to be intentional about thinking of some as well, not putting all of it.
Well, we've done like over 100 of them now.
Some of them, yeah.
I mean, how many shows are we into now?
Yeah. We could just be like, what's your favorite color of couch? It's like, well, I love a red couch. Just really
I like a
good neutral gray.
I like a good. There was one time on one Sunday, Andy and I were leading the singles, and the question was, what color do you wish you'd worn today? So many people were like, I'm wearing the color I wanted to wear today. And I realized it was a terrible question. That was one of my worst. That was one of the worst get to know you questions. Let's see. Okay. If you're having everybody over to your big family, because it's the family get together, who's your person that you'd warn everybody about before? You're bringing a complete stranger to the family gathering.
Yeah.
And we have
talked about this before. And I don't know if I had to edit out your original answer.
I think you edited it out.
Because you're like, how do you thought about it? I was like, that's kind of mean. So, I mean, I guess a warning is like, not only like, hey, this person is like problematic or scary or whatever, but it's also like, hey, this is just someone that maybe they're going to, really be, ask open and honest questions, or, it's not always a bad thing.
Sure.
I want to make that clear.
This is the person, just beware this may happen.
Like, this is what they do. This is what my family does. My older brother is, in his older years, has just gotten very vocal about what he approves of for our family to do together. Like, for instance, over Thanksgiving, we've had this long tradition of like, we go around the table and we all say something we're thankful for. And it's great, but there's 20 people and everyone always says like the same things like God, my family, my job. And so
that's like what we do, but your faces are like,
but it's so boring to my brother. He's like, we say the same things every year. Can we get more specific?
Sure.
So it's not even like a mean thing he's doing. He's like, hey, can we make this 20, 30 minutes even more valuable by making sure that, you know, you don't just say God or your family. Like you say,
right.
You know, my job this year, this happened or whatever. And so I wouldn't warn them about it, but I would say like, hey, you just know, like my brother is going to try and like, you know, control how this goes because he's tired of, you know, 40 years of
lame
dealing
answers.
with it.
Right.
So you better have a good answer. You know, that's
a good warning person. I think for me, I would warn people. And I've thought about several of my family members, but actually when someone comes over, they don't know our family. They don't know anything. I would probably warn them about my dad.
Okay.
Because I think my dad would look at this person and be like, hey, what's your name? And they'd tell him and he'd be like, hey, you want to help me out back?
Oh.
And they could be loading lumber.
Yeah.
They could be helping put a roof on.
Yeah.
They could be helping, like, you can, like my dad, or he'll hire them. Hey, you want to make a little extra money? Like,
wow.
They've come over, they're eating some cornbread.
Yeah.
And then before they know it, they're like an employee.
That's funny.
Or they'll come over and he'll make up something.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, you want a snack? Maybe sardines.
Yeah.
On some cracker, and then you're eating it. Like,
so things that are so normal to him are not normal to other people.
My dad is such a different person from other people that I think, but everyone always ends up loving him.
Right.
But they're like, hey, you want to go outside and hang out? And they're like, yeah. Hey, let's set up a big slip and slide. You want to help? And they're like, yeah. It's like, do you want to help me build a fire? Let's go build a fire. And they're like, oh, okay. I wasn't planning to stay that long.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it would be my dad.
Okay, that's great.
Well, anyway, we wonder who you would warn people about. And we're glad that you're here with us today. Thank you for hanging. Yeah. We will have a guest next week. And then the next week, we have so many great things planned for 2024.
Yeah.
And we just hope you come back again.
Yeah, we'd love for you to email us at podcast@cityrise.org if you have suggestions for people we could talk to. Rate, review, subscribe, like on YouTube, share the episode, whatever it may be. We'd love for you to get the word out about this, just so that people can be encouraged by what God's doing. And that is all I have.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Thank you for
the last 3 seconds. You're like, I'm going to put these glasses on. Now's the moment.
Thank you. We hope you've had an almost amazing time on the Almost Amazing podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Almost Amazing podcast from the City Rise Network based in Houston, Texas. City Rise is a partnership of church campuses, nonprofits, and missionaries devoted to lifting our city and the world by generously giving the gospel of Jesus Christ. For more information or to find a church campus close to you in the Houston area, visit cityrise.org.